So we're continuing with the IC 109 diaries and just, talking. So I was mentioning the trips, my all my travels to Japan, and I was talking about how Nagasaki and Hiroshima were the sites where the atomic and hydrogen bombs were dropped on the Japanese by the Americans, us, and the project that brought those two bombs to fruition, that brought them to life, they it was the Manhattan Project. All of the scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project, well, they had to walk through a door at address 109 East Palace. Now I'm going to use the door to segue into Ethiopia. My story is about Ethiopia. I kind of only have one story about Ethiopia, but the wealth of history that I learned about Ethiopia, I think I have to discuss that as well. But so the door in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that led to the creation of the atomic and hydrogen bombs, that was 109. It was a door with 109 on, the address written on it, right? 109. So I'm in Ethiopia. Cut to Ethiopia. There I am in Ethiopia, and I'm walking down a hallway, and I spot a door. On my way to the restroom, I spot a door, and the door has written on it the number 10 and 9, 109. And I'm like, those are my numbers. But I'm in Ethiopia now. Remember, I was in Japan before having I was just tripping on these 109 moments, but now I'm in Ethiopia. Like Ethiopia is like so far away from Japan. What the heck am I looking at 109 there? What the heck am I finding 109 there for? And that's really the mystery. It was like, what possibly could these numbers mean in Ethiopia to someone, to anyone? How? Because they had to have meant something important enough for them to have written it on the door. And I didn't write it on the door. So I was just baffled, like, what's going on here? So it took me a couple of years after seeing that door. Of course, in my fashion, in my true fashion, I took a picture of that door as evidence to say, "Oh my gosh, look at what I found in Ethiopia now." It took me about 2 years. I had left Ethiopia, moved, life things happen in life, and I was no longer there. But I had a friend, I had a contact in Ethiopia whom I spoke with. I had actually two contacts. There was a young woman I met. Her name is Helena, friend of mine. I said, Helena, can you go back to where that door is located? It's located at the university, the Addis Ababa University, at the museum that was the former residence of Emperor Haile Selassie, His Imperial Majesty. So the door is not going anywhere. It's located in that museum on the second floor. So it wasn't going anywhere. So I asked Helena, can you go back to that location and can you take a picture of that door for me? Take another picture for me, like as evidence that it's still there and, check it out. So Helena didn't. So the importance of this number of this door was lost on Helena. And she was like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to find the number 109 on a door? And she was like, okay. So she just found some random door, took a picture of it and sent it to me. And she was like, are you happy now? And I was like, no, not at all. That's not what I was hoping that you would do. Now, mind you, I understood that for Helena to go out of her way to do that for me, that, I had to compensate her. So I was willing. I was fully willing, but she didn't hold up her end of the bargain. She was just like, I just took any picture of a door with 109 on it and sent it to you. So we're done here. Send me my money. We're done. Like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. That was Helena. And then another friend, Abby, a guy. So this guy, um, he was in Addis Ababa, and he made arrangements to talk with someone who worked there. Actually, he found the person who wrote 109 on the door. Okay, now, full transparency. I don't know if he actually found the person who wrote 109 on the door. He probably just got one of his buddies and he was like, "Hey, my this guy in America wants to know about these numbers. Just create a story. He's going to send me some money. I'll split it with you, whatever, just I'm Boo Boo the fool, right?" Well, Abby says he found the professor, okay, because it's Addis Ababa University where it's located, right? First off, he found the professor who wrote 109 on the door. And I spoke with him, supposedly I spoke with him, and he explained to me that those numbers were kind of the section number of his course, of the course that he's teaching. And so he said that his offices were behind that door. And so he wrote 109 on the door so that when his students come to visit him, they know where his office is located. Now, okay, that could potentially be true, but that door already has numbers on it. I think it was 202-203. Behind that door, there were two offices, 202-203. So it already had a room number on it. Why would he need to write an additional number? You see, the mystery just the plot thickens. Like, what was he being truthful in what he was saying to me? I don't know. So anywho, um, Ethiopia. I certainly have a story about Ethiopia. So you see how I use the Japanese story to segue the story in Japan about the door, or it didn't happen in Japan. It was the Manhattan Project with the door with 109 on it. And I use that to segue into the door in Ethiopia. Now I'm bouncing around time because here's what happened. uh my friends, remember the ones who were in New Mexico who found the door, who posted the picture to Facebook, and I saw it and I said, "Hey, those are my numbers." So Steven and Marsha traveled probably around 2022, 2021, or maybe even 2020. Okay. um but when I saw that door in Ethiopia, that was in 2018. So see how I'm bouncing around in time? I'm not chronological. I'm not following chronological order when I detail these stories. Okay, here's something fascinating. This is a story I just thought of recently, the other day, yesterday or so, or maybe was it this morning? It was probably this morning, and I thought I need to make a video about this one. I haven't mentioned this one. I haven't talked about it, okay, but picture it. The year was 2019. I'm with my mom, and it's her high school reunion. It's one of her high school reunions. One of her high school reunions. Okay. Now the high school reunion takes place in Compton, California, and my mom says, "Hey, son, why don't you come with me? I'm gonna go to take me to my reunion." That's what my mom says. Take me, but also come with me to the reunion. Okay. The reunion takes place at a park in Compton. I believe it was Compton, but details, details. The devil is in the details. So I'm with my mom. I think it was the end of the party, the end of the reunion, and we're trying to leave the park where the reunion takes place. Now, as we're leaving, I see a license plate that captures my attention. Okay, so it's a 109. It's a 109 moment. The license plate has 1, 0, and 9 on it in that order. Okay, I don't have to look. It's not like the one is in the front, the zero's in the middle, and the nine just happens to be somewhere on. No, it's 1, 0, and 9. Okay, that's another detail that you must understand. I'm trying to only focus on moments when 10 and 9 present themselves, not 910 or 019, okay, but 10 and 9, okay. I'm trying to stick with those moments. So here's a moment. There I was with my mom at the park for my mom's high school reunion, and on the license plate there are the numbers 10 and 9. But then curiously, the letters K and P are on that same license plate. And I think the license plate was something like KP109. Specific, just like boom, KP109. Now, the reason why those letters and those numbers caught my attention. Number one, you already know why the numbers caught my attention, 109. However, because but those letters, let me explain why those letters KP were there. Okay. I was with my mother, and my mother's maiden name began, excuse me, it begins with the letter P. My mother's name is Kathleen, so it's KP. All right. And so when I saw that license plate, I said to myself, it's like we're traveling back in time because we're going back to my mother's time when she was in high school. And this license plate on this car is a indicator that we've traveled back in time together, my mother and I, because KP, those were my mother's initials. Okay. But now that she's married, they are different. KW. And so that struck that struck me, you know? It made an impression on me. I remembered that. It was just like, did we travel back in time together? This is wild. That's my story. I was with my mom. I was at her high school reunion because did I say this? When my mother was in high school, her initials were KP. So it was like we had traveled back in time, and that license plate was an indication like, hey, this is what happened to you. Like, oh my gosh, wow. KP 109. So what that license plate means to me is sort of like before, okay, so the letters were KP and then it said 109. So that's like saying before 109, before your arrival, your mother was KP. That's what it was saying to me. I pointed it out to my mom. I said, "Hey, mom, look at that license plate," because she was with me and she saw those numbers. So it was like a moment for us because she knows I make a big deal about moments when I see 109. So for us to experience it together was just like, whoa, you know. I don't think I explained, how deep. I didn't deeply explain it. Like, ma, KP, those were your initials when you were in high school. It's like we're going back. I didn't do all of that. I didn't geek out over it. I was just like, hey, those are my numbers, 109, ma. Did I mention the KP part? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I thought about it that deeply. All right. That was like 2019. It had to have been 2019, like to right after I returned to Los Angeles sometime. 2019. So that would mean my mom graduated in the nine, in this like 69, 79, something like that. She probably graduated in like 69, right? For it to be like a 20, a 15, 20, 30, 40-year reunion. I have to do the math. And my brain isn't mathing right now, so I can't even think about that. Let me see. Yeah, let me not do that right now. All right, let me give you another story. 2022, I went to Europe and I went to Ireland for the first time. 2022, I'm in Ireland for the first time. And on my first day in Ireland, I go to a restaurant I've never been to before. I've never heard of the restaurant, don't know the restaurant. I go into the restaurant, order my food, eat my meal. The waitress brings me receipt number, which means I'm customer number 109. Like, I was like, who's watching me? Who orchestrated this? Because this is bizarre. That happened in Ireland. Um, let's see, Ethiopia, Ireland, Compton, California, Cuba. 2017, I was in Cuba and I started. If you learn anything about Cuba, eventually you learn about Che Guevara, Ernesto Che Guevara de la Serna. He was a Cuban revolutionary, and I remember in 1997 when I wanted to learn about Che Guevara, I was in a Barnes and Noble bookstore somewhere near West Covina, California. I reached for the book, Che, famous, very, very famous book. I reached for the book, and a man accosted me in the Barnes and Noble. He said, he was a Latino guy. He looked at me, he said, "Oh, so you're interested in Che?" And it kind of spooked me. And I didn't want to touch the book any longer. I was like, I reached, and my reach for Che's book was like, I'm reaching for information about Che. I'm trying to make a connection with Che in that moment, 1997. And the guy spooked me, so I put the book down and I was like, "Nah, man, I'm okay." And I was just like, "Oh." It was a controversial book even then. He's a controversial figure, so reaching for a book about him was like, "Hey, you don't shy away from controversy. You're sort of a pioneer, a maverick. You're an independent thinker, independent spirit kind of a guy." And in that moment, I just wanted to be ignored, just wanted to go with the flow. So I put that book back. So I liken that story and that moment to me trying to connect with Che Guevara's spirit. Because in 2017, when I was in Cuba, the country where he led the revolution, I think I finally connected with his spirit. Not that I was trying to do this at all. See, I don't chase 109. These are just moments that are coincidences, and just they are mind-boggling. It's like, whoa, okay. But there I am in the country where he led the revolution alongside alongside Fidel Castro, Camilo Cienfuegos, Raúl Castro, um, Dreke, the Afro-Cubano Dreke. I don't know his first name. Anywho, all of these men and women who were revolutionaries, okay? I'm in the country where they actually led the revolution. So I go and I pick up a book about Che Guevara and his life. I turn a few pages, I'm reading the introduction and what have you, and then I discover, boom, Che Guevara was killed on October 9th, 10/9. October 9th, 1967. That's just a coincidence. But the idea that I was in Cuba learning of a 10/9 connection like that, it just made it just impressed me even more about 10/9. It was like, whoa, there's something about this 10/9 because I just keep seeing it, and it keeps hitting. It hits different. It hits different. I'm like, wow, here I am in Cuba now. And I picked up a book about one of the leaders, and 10/9 is related to the leader. Like, oh man. See, I can already give you one, two, I can give you like a couple of disasters that are related to 10/9. I can give you, you know, Che Guevara, revolutionary, kind of a evil kind of guy. Controversial, certainly. I wouldn't say evil. Complicated, certainly, but people describe him as an evil. He was a monster, sort of a guy, right? Had a lot of people killed, right? Bad, so a bad spirit, kind of. Follow me, right? Che Guevara, bad spirit. Whatever spirit led to the creation of the Manhattan Project and the atomic and hydrogen bombs, bad spirit. That was related to 10/9. I discussed that. Che Guevara is related to 10/9, right? 10/9 Che Guevara, 10/9 atomic bomb. Something that I discovered recently, my buddy Jumani sent me a message and said, "Did you know that April 19th is the 109th day of the year?" I didn't know this. Now, since we're on the topic of disasters, like bad spirits and monsters, sort of, so to speak, on the 109th day of the year, there were two disasters that occurred. David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. Remember those folk? If you were alive back then, you remember this. I'm speaking to the older folk. Younger folk, you do your research. Google this. David Koresh, the Branch Davidians. Okay, it happened on April 19th. There was a massacre at a church led by this guy named David Koresh who thought he was Jesus. Okay, whatever. Okay, and then also on the 109th day of the year, which is April 19th. I didn't know this, by the way. Jumani told me. Jumani and I are kind of like kindred spirits. He's like, yeah, I see 1-9. And, it resonates with me. So when he sees 109 or when he hears something, he's like, Larry, that 109, he kind of ignores the zero. So he just sees the 1 and 9. He's like, that relates to me too. It's kind of like what I was saying, like these numbers, speak to all of us. Okay. But Jumani told me this. So he said that, hey, David Koresh, that was the 109th, April 19th. And then you know what other disaster occurred on April 19th? I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It was the Oklahoma City bombing. What was that guy's name? The bomber. It escapes me. The bomber, his name. What the heck was his name? It'll come to me later. So sadly, as of now, I can think of 4 disasters that occurred not on October 9th. Thank the Lord. It didn't happen. Like, I'm not trying to draw those connections like, "Ooh, look, 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 look." I'm just saying, hey man, there's something there. Something interesting. Maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not, but I am sort of co-locating, associating these things with that number, and it is helping me remember those dates. It's not helping me remember the name of individuals involved. McVeigh, Timothy McVeigh, that's the guy's name. May he rot in hell for the murderous act that he committed. Um, but that happened on the 109th day of the year, which is always, according to Jumani, which is a fact, which something I didn't know, which is always April 19th. So those are 4 evil spirits that are related to 109 in some sort of way. Evil, if you want to call them that. Che Guevara, I wouldn't call him evil. Complicated, certainly. Timothy McVeigh, evil. Absolutely evil. Um, the Manhattan Project, well, Oppenheimer, the man who created those projects, created the bombs, he said it was the Bhagavad Gita that he quoted. He said in this moment that he created this bomb, he became death. I'm only sharing this with you to I'm only sharing this with you to just go down the rabbit hole and to explore. I'm not leading to any conclusions. Don't want to do that. Just let that sit with you, resonate with you. 10-9, the 10-9 Diaries, 2025.